Hey guys, Aaron Paletta here with LaVega Cigars and of course the Cigar Lounge Cigar Talk Show. And for any of you who watch my show, I deeply appreciate your support. So I've had a lot of people, mostly some of my closest friends over the last several weeks, ask me a lot of questions about my new cigar company, LaVega Cigars, and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So I figured it'd be more beneficial to put together this little video since I have some footage of everything. And for those of you who followed me during my music days, you know that I love to do behind the scenes because that's the fascinating part about everything is learning how things are actually done. So today we're going to start off with my three cigars, the El Primo, the El Segundo, and the El Terzo, and those have to be made somewhere. So we're going to dive right into it. So I started off with the blend. So I sent down to the factory a list of different tobaccos, how I'd like them, to be arranged, what I want in them. They send me back quite a few samples. I test all the samples, and then when I finally figure out which ones that I want, those are the ones that go into production. So once I decide on the vitola of the cigar, the size of the cigar, I have all the measurements, and that allows me to get my display boxes done. Now I do not do individual boxes. I care very deeply for the trees, and as cigar smokers, what do we do after we buy a box of cigars? We throw it away. Unless it's a very ornate, well done box, we don't keep them. So that being said, in order to save trees and in order to save costs and shipping weight and everything else, I have mine done in refills of 10. But in order for it to go into a retail location, you got to have a display box of some sort. So everything that is with LaVega was designed by me, and as of right now, most of it is made by me as well. Now you'll notice if you go into one of the retail locations that holds my cigars, and you very gently lift up the box because the store owners don't like that. But if you lift up the box, you'll see a tag on it. You'll actually see it in this video. If you see that burn in there, that's my information. I made that box. If you don't see that on there, then I paid somebody else to do it. But we're gonna start with the boxes. Everything gets ripped down into strips and everything is laid out in my warehouse on the shelf. So my father was a master carpenter, journeyman pattern maker, and he taught me a lot of things along the way, especially how to work with wood. So all these boxes are not only designed, but I make all these boxes as well. So on my bench that I have inside of my warehouse, I have jigs made, and I can do up to assemble 3 boxes at a time. But everything has to be cut. Well, in order to make sure that they're cut perfectly every time, I have cutting blocks. Now, these cutting blocks, I keep them right underneath the saw. They're designed to perfectly cut everything, so everything is the exact same length, so we don't run into any wonky dimensions on these boxes. Now, once everything is assembled in the jig and it's allowed to let the glue dry, everything is put underneath a press. So they're all stacked together and everything is put underneath a press. They get clamped down, and I clamp them for about 24 hours. So I'll clamp, 6 to 8, maybe even 10 boxes, and I come in the next day and I pull all those and I bring the next ones in. After those are all done, as you can see, they turn into boxes. Now each one of these compartments holds 1 refill of each one of my cigars. Now you'll actually see that's where it's crafted by, and if you see that stamp, that is what I was referring to, that it was made by me. After everything is fully glued, sanded, ready to go, all the rough edges get colored in with black, and then they go over and they're all lacquered. There's two or three coats of lacquer on each one, and then I allow all those to dry. I mean, they're dry to the touch within a couple of minutes, but I don't like to leave fingerprints, so I let them dry overnight. Now, the artwork for the boxes, all of that gets done. Again, I design everything. I have a commercial printer down in my warehouse. Everything gets printed, laminated, and I have big commercial cutters that we use, and that's where everything gets ripped down and cut and assembled. Now, once all this is done, all of these boxes that are done sit up on the top rack, and they're just sitting there waiting to go into a store. Now, I mentioned the printer. So this commercial printer, my wife ended up finding for me. I get a lot of pages because it doesn't use ink cartridges, it uses bottles of ink. So the bands have to be made now. And when these bands start to get printed, they go back down to the warehouse after I have, thousands. I'll probably print 3,000 to 5,000 per band. And once all those are done, they get ripped down into strips, as you can see. Now these strips are 6 bands per strip, and that's when they actually get cut individually. Now we invested in extra long scissors, and I mean really long scissors, so we don't have to, you know, cut at it. It's just one smooth cut, and that's how myself or my team cuts these bands apart. Once all the bands are done, here's where we start to, now it's out of my hands and it goes to another factory. So these get sent down to the factory in the Dominican Republic, and the girls down there, they start wrapping cigars. Now meanwhile, all these cigars have already been made and they're sitting down there ready to go. So all the bands go to these ladies and they have little jigs of their own. So all the bands end up at the same height on every single cigar. And then once they're done with that, they put them to where they get into their individual cellophane. And after they're done with the cellophane, they all get stacked up, and that's, you know, there's managers walking around and they do quality control checks. Once that's done, now these get shipped back to the United States. Well, this is a lengthy process. They get shipped from the Dominican to Miami, and they go through customs, and of course customs likes to destroy our cigars, not just mine but everybody in the industry. But once I get them back, they come back, I get them in boxes, and as you can see, the refill bundles, but I also have samplers made as well. And then everything must be inventoried at this point. So everything that I use as far as barcodes are concerned are internationally recognized. So samplers has a barcode, refills have a barcode, individual cigars have a barcode, and these are for the stores so they can keep track. And it's also for me to keep track. So once everything comes back in, everything goes into my climate controlled humidors. Now these humidors hold about 12 to 1500 cigars depending on how I stack them in there, but the important thing is everything is rotated. So with the travel time from these cigars going from the climate in the Dominican onto a ship or a plane, however they're getting, you know, to the United States, that's going to dry them out. Then they land in Miami, very hot and humid. Then they have to get back onto a plane and come up to Pennsylvania, and then they get, you know, so it's a process. So when I get these cigars in, they sit for at least 2 to 3 weeks before I even let them go to a store. They have to get acclimated to where they are now. Otherwise, you're going to taste travel. You're not going to taste, you know, the cigar itself. So you've got to let these things sit. So these get rotated in. Each cigar has its own humidor that it goes in. The samplers has it, but I also do events. Now we get to the fun part. After everything's inventoried, I've got what's going to different stores, we get to do events. I love to do events. Events are fun. Everybody meets up, everybody's smoking, everybody's having a drink of their choice, everybody's enjoying themselves. But these events are fun because now it has its own setup. So all the stuff that goes into my event I have to keep. So I have all the display cases, which I make all of that as well. All the banners that are in their bags sitting, waiting, ready to go. The humidors, the ashtrays, flasks, you know, any other displays that goes along with the table, which includes my 2-pillar ashtrays. And the main reason that I made those is I just don't like people ashing on to my table. So I give them a place to ash. These events are probably the funnest part of this entire thing. I have quite a few events coming up. I hope to see you guys out there, and more importantly, I hope that this little behind the scenes gives you an idea of the amount of hands and people and care that goes into making every single cigar that you guys get to sit down and smoke. Remember, that cigar, it's probably touched a good, you know, couple dozen hands before it's even made it to you. So if you haven't checked out my cigars, go to LaVegaLounge.com. Everything's on there, and if you haven't seen my show, go check that out as well. I hope to see you guys in the future. Enjoy your smokes.
One of many. Oh, we don't No. Where the hell do you rent that suit from?
I do want to introduce some very good friends of ours who are here tonight from LaVega. These guys are local. I mean, you know that old buy local thing? Works for cigars too, right? They're right across the border over in Pennsylvania. They have a beautiful product line. a delicious cigar. They're going to do a little demonstration, and you know, the special tonight for anybody that came in, you still got some giveaways.
The whole thing.
Okay, so what we're doing is if you buy 3 of their product from us, very simple, just take your receipt. Lynn's feeding the paper into the receipt machine again, so we're good to go. And all you got to do is bring your receipt over here and show it to him, and he's going to give you a free stick. Aaron, I'm going to let you say something.
Good. So, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I'm Aaron Paletta. I own LaVega Cigars. I got my boys over here tonight. Evan, and if you've ever seen my show, Evan and Vince are always the ones behind the camera. You never see them in front of the camera. And then Johnny, who can't say Nicaragua, is always on camera with me. Also got my boy Mr. K coming out and the good Reverend. So tonight, I want to tell you how to properly cut and light a cigar, because most people don't understand. It's not a big deal. Cigars are subjective. You light it any way you want, but there is a proper way to do it, and I need a cigar. Did you light yours yet? So when you're doing your own cigar, most people will stick this in their mouth first and they get it wet. Well, here's the problem. That saliva goes onto your concrete. And then you're being nice and generous and you cut someone else's cigar, now your saliva goes on theirs. And it's just gross. So we're not going to do that. So don't lick your cigar first. What do you want, B? So when you go to cut, specifically with the guillotine, when you look at the top here, at the top of this cigar, you'll see the cap. Do not cut below the shoulder. That's when the wrapper is going to start to fall apart. You want to take very little off of this. And when you cut it, it's just quick. If you try to gouge it, it's going to rip it. I do this in 4 stages. A lot of people don't like to use a torch because they say that it burns the cigar. That's true. If you hold the flame too close, it will burn it. We just want to toast it. So I start off, I do 3 stages of the torch, and all we're trying to do, it's like stoking a fire. We just want to get them coals going. Once you get a little bit of a cherry on there, you just want to blow a little air through it. All we're doing at that point is just, we're stoking it. We're trying to get that cherry to light. Now when you hold this torch to it, if you see it where it actually engulfs over top of it, you're burning it. Barely want the tip of that to touch. So now you'll see the cherry starting to light up real nice. When you blow on it, you'll see some dark spots. Those are the parts that aren't lit yet. So you'll do your final one with your torch. Now I always pull out a soft flame to finish this off. But the interesting thing about the soft flame that I'm going to use tonight, we went down to the J.C. Newman factory in February. Actually, the 4 of us did, and we had the privilege of interviewing Drew Newman. Well, I had the privilege of buying his grandfather's DuPont lighter. Wow. So I had this insurance, and you guys trying to steal this from me? That's okay. This is
where Grandfather was from, right?
Cleveland.
That's right.
Which actually Clapter's is actually on the wall inside their museum. So this is a ST DuPont Line 2 dual flame. We're just going to finish this off. You see how nice and silver that ash is. When you do that final blow through, you'll see some smoke come out the head of the cigar. That's when you're ready to go.
Thank you, sir.
And that's how you cut and light a cigar properly.
Beautiful.
Any questions? Enjoy your smokes.
So I do have a question. Tell me, that's Drew's grandfather?
So this lighter was
belonged to?
Stanford Newman's personal lighter.
So it's Bobby's father,
Yeah.
Drew's grandfather.
Yeah. And then he confirmed it right in the middle of the episode, and that's what I needed to get it insured.
Awesome. Awesome.
So if anybody wants to see that, you are more than welcome to come over here and see it. If you want to know more about cigars or see us 2 idiots on camera, go to my website. We've got the show on there. We've done 3 seasons already. The 3rd season, we started to bounce around and go to different lounges because a lot of guys, they just don't get out. They're not going to go to different states and go to different lounges. So if you want to check out some of the stuff we've done, like I went home to Vegas, I filmed at Casa Fuente, went across the border over there to, well, we're in Ohio. Went over to Havana House, filmed with Tony Bellato, good friend. So we've got a bunch of stuff on there. That, and you can hear this guy mispronounce words, which is just a blast.
It's my specialty.
I will specifically have him read the blends because I know he can't pronounce it. Any other questions?
Is the Newman episode, is when you were here earlier, you showed us the video.
That was the one that I
Was that
showed
on
you.
YouTube or your website?
It's on YouTube, but I have everything linked to my website.
So if they go to your website,
They can
see
find
it.
everything they want to find.
It was a great show to watch.
So Evan tells me that the literature you have there has
Yeah,
a way
so
to get onto the website.
if anybody wants to grab these, this has on the back, it's got all my information. It's got QR codes that'll take you right to the website, right to Instagram. Everything you need to know is on there.
Great job, Aaron. Thank
Yeah, thank
you
you,
so
Aaron.
much.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Well, one last thing I'll leave you with. I always thank them even though they're not here. My wife and my mother, without them, LaVega would never have been possible. Jamie and Steve, thank you guys so much for having me come in here tonight.
Aaron, could you elaborate just briefly on the different types of cigars for those who are going to experience tonight?
So, cigars tonight. I'm Italian, so all these are actually named in Italian: the Il Primo, the Il Secondo, and the Il Terzo. They literally translate to the first, the second, and the third. This is the order in which I chose these blends. So, the blue one that everybody calls it, because nobody can say Primo. The blue cigar is a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, a Dominican binder. It's got Nicaraguan, Colombian, and Pennsylvania broadleaf fillers in it. It's more of a medium cigar. So you're gonna get some licorice notes, you'll get some cocoa notes. It's just a nice smooth cigar. Until today, where this gentleman actually tasted cream, which was new to me. I've never actually tasted cream in it. The Secondo, or the green one.
My favorite.
Yeah, your favorite. This is a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. So you're gonna get a little bit of spice out of that. It's got an Olor binder. It has Piloto Cubano, Nicaraguan, Pennsylvania broadleaf fillers. This one's going to be more of a medium plus, but you're going to get baker spice in this one. You're going to get coriander, you're going to get nutmeg, you'll get some slight almonds in it. That's where this cigar is. Now the Terzo, or the red. Now, real quick, does that look like red? I mean, that's maroon, right?
What's maroon?
Everybody says.
I say burgundy.
I say burgundy.
It's burgundy. Oh, burgundy. Never mind. I say maroon.
Burgundy is more classic.
Terzo is what it is. So that also has a Maduro wrapper. This is a Mexican San Andreas wrapper. It has an Olor binder. Now this one's gonna get its strength and its punch from the Criollo 98 tobacco that's in it. Now I'm personally a fan of stronger cigars. I make no hiding it. I'm probably the only guy who does not smoke his own cigar at his own event. This is not mine. So this one was designed for more of the full body smokers. And that Criollo is going to give you that. That's going to be more like a sour, like toasted sourdough, a charred oak. You'll get some interesting notes out of that Terzo. I do recommend you eat something, unless you're an experienced smoker, before you smoke that one, because that one does have some strength to it. And then, just to be on the lookout, I'm actually working on another one. It's a Connecticut. It'll be releasing in 2024. It's called the Etichetta Bianca, which is Italian for the white label. And they're going to be limited runs. The only way that you can get this is if you go to a store that carries my entire line. They're the only places that are going to be allowed to have this. And if any of you took advantage of the special tonight, this is the Exclusivo 2023. This is an undisclosed blend. It's just something I'm a big fan of. I can tell you it's got a Corojo wrapper, but I can't tell you where it's from, what factory it comes from, but these are event only. So unless you go to an event, one of my events, you can't get these. And then next year it'll change.
You created the blends for your different cigars. Are you actually personally involved in the manufacture, or do you have people do that for you?
So
How's that done?
everything with the exception of the tobacco is all made in-house. All the bands that you guys are going to pull off there and make me tear up when I see them sitting in the ashtray were all printed and cut by me or my team. If you go in and you lift up the display box, I care very deeply for the trees. So I do just refill bundles that I sell to the stores. They get display boxes that are made. If you look underneath it, you'll see my stamp. Every box that goes into every store is made by me. I will not put them in a store unless I sit down and have a cigar with the owner or the manager.
He's bougie like that.
I just found out what that word was a couple months ago. Anybody else have any other questions? Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Perfect. Enjoy your smoke, guys. Thanks for coming out.